The Kenyan government has utterly failed its people. Rampant corruption and greed have led to the suffering of millions of vulnerable Kenyans living in poverty without access to clean water, healthcare, education, and other basic needs. Meanwhile, YouTubers like MrBeast are literally doing more for Kenyans than their own elected leaders. Through his viral YouTube videos, MrBeast has provided clean drinking water, renovated schools, brought electricity, and improved lives in Kenya, while the government continues to neglect its own people. It's a national embarrassment that YouTubers are doing more for Kenya than Kenyan leaders. MrBeast, an American YouTuber, should not have to be the one solving Kenya's problems. But his charitable work has been life-changing for underserved communities neglected by their government. Corruption is rampant across all levels of the Kenyan government. Politicians habitually award contracts to cronies, siphon money from public programs, accept bribes, and stash ill-gotten gains in offshore bank accounts. President Ruto has pledged to crack down on corruption, yet it remains widespread. Little progress has been made under his administration. Public funds that should go to education, infrastructure, healthcare, and anti-poverty initiatives are instead lining politicians' pockets. According to Kenya's Auditor General, roughly 20% of government spending is lost to corruption each year. That's billions of dollars stolen rather than spent on the Kenyan people. Politicians brazenly flout their ill-gotten wealth through extravagant lifestyles. Cabinet secretaries, senators, and MPs own luxurious homes, drive expensive cars, and take lavish vacations abroad, all while ordinary Kenyans struggle to survive. The greed of Kenya's political elite is seemingly bottomless. Even amid extreme economic hard times, politicians award themselves massive salary increases and benefits. In 2019, while 2.5 million Kenyans faced starvation, MPs tried to increase their salaries to over $10,000 per month. These corrupt politicians feel no shame gorging themselves on public funds while their constituents starve. They violate public trust with no consequences thanks to a lack of oversight and accountability. Kenya's political corruption filters down to lower levels of government too. Police officers demand bribes from motorists and small business owners. Civil servants embezzle funds intended for schools, hospitals, and infrastructure. Corruption is endemic at nearly all levels of Kenyan society. The real-life impact of political corruption and neglect in Kenya has been devastating. Lack of access to clean water, food, electricity, healthcare, and education continues to trap millions in grinding poverty. Nearly half of Kenyans lack access to clean water. Women and children spend hours walking miles to collect water from rivers and wells, exposing them to waterborne illnesses like cholera and typhoid. Stunting from malnutrition affects 26% of Kenyan children due to food insecurity. 13 counties were declared emergency drought zones in 2019 with over 3 million people facing starvation. 55% of Kenyans live below the poverty line, earning less than $2 per day. Unemployment, especially among youth, remains painfully high around 40%. The human toll of government neglect is heartbreaking. Children starve, die from preventable diseases, or end up working to support their families rather than attending school. Bright, talented youths lack opportunities to rise out of poverty. Rural villages lack electricity and basic infrastructure like roads, bridges, and drainage systems. Dangerous, dilapidated schools and clinics lack supplies and medicine. Vulnerable groups like women, children, the disabled, and the elderly are hit hardest. But poverty and lack of basic services affect all Kenyans seeking a better life. Lives are cut short and dreams denied because of the selfishness and indifference of Kenya's political elite. Corrupt leaders betray their people by abdicating their responsibilities in pursuit of wealth and power. It's unconscionable that politicians would steal billions for mansions, luxury cars, and overseas jaunts, while ordinary Kenyans suffer in poverty. The human cost of corruption is simply too high. In sharp contrast to apathetic politicians, YouTuber MrBeast has made it his mission to help underserved Kenyan communities. MrBeast travels to Kenya frequently to create videos that provide life-changing aid. His most impactful contribution has been providing clean water access. So far, MrBeast has funded and built over 50 deep-water wells across Kenya. His wells harness underground aquifers to sustainably provide thousands of people with clean drinking water. One well MrBeast built provides a school with enough water for 400 students plus the entire village. Another well eliminated the need for students to hike miles down a treacherous mountain just for water. The wells spare women and children from spending hours walking for water every day. Easy water access lets children focus on education rather than survival. MrBeast's wells are a godsend for agricultural communities too. With more reliable water, crops flourish even in the dry seasons. Beyond water, MrBeast also undertakes initiatives like providing solar power, renovating dilapidated schools, stocking libraries with books, and donating bicycles. He listens to locals to identify urgent needs, then acts. The impact is tangible and life-changing. MrBeast's solar panels have illuminated entire villages. Students cheer their refurbished schools and computers. Mothers praise the nearby clean water that protects their children's health. Unlike politicians, MrBeast sees Kenyans as human beings deserving of dignity and compassion. While government programs are tainted by corruption, MrBeast's aid reaches real people and inspires hope. By collaborating with locals, MrBeast ensures aid is tailored and sustainable. His projects empower communities with lasting infrastructure so they can help themselves. The benefits will compound for decades to come. MrBeast provides a model for how privileged individuals should give back. He leverages his wealth and public platform to uplift those in need on the other side of the world. His altruism stands in stark contrast to the limitless greed of Kenya's elites and billionaires. The Kenyan government's corruption and neglect of its people is unacceptable. Leaders who fail their citizens must be held accountable. Too many lives hang in the balance. Fortunately, ordinary Kenyans have already begun rising up to demand better. Activists are exposing corruption, mobilizing voters, and running for office to enact reforms. Their courage deserves support. Kenyans must continue applying public pressure until leaders implement transparency and accountability measures. Anti-corruption institutions like the EACC need strengthening and independence from political interference. Voters should reject corrupt candidates in favor of reformers committed to serving the public, not themselves. Coalitions across civil society are essential to overcome government resistance. Apathetic politicians must be made to realize that stealing public money has consequences. Only when corruption carries real risks will it decline. Of course, not all individual politicians are equally corrupt. There are promising reformers within the government like Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro, who should be identified and elevated. The fight against corruption requires allies at all levels. Finally, privileged Kenyans need to follow MrBeast's example. Donate money, volunteer time, start a nonprofit, run for office, anything to help lift up those in need. We cannot wait for the government to act. Each of us must take responsibility. If corrupt politicians will not help their own people, then common citizens must fill the void. The Kenyan government's greed and negligence in the face of mass poverty is a disgrace. Kenya boasts one of Africa's largest economies, yet wealth disparity remains stark as politicians loot billions in public funds. Children starve while the elite dine in luxury. YouTuber MrBeast has shown the compassion and selflessness absent from Kenya's leaders. While politicians pocketed relief funds, MrBeast dug wells so villages could access clean water. He understands every human's basic dignity. What Kenya needs is a government that prioritizes people's welfare over personal gain. The only hope against entrenched corruption is for Kenyans to unite across tribes and classes to demand better leadership. Public resources must go towards healthcare, education, economic development, and poverty relief. It's time to end the looting of state coffers that has stunted Kenya's progress. Kenya's young, energetic population is hungry for change and social justice. Their voices deserve amplification. Supporting grassroots activism and reformers within government are critical first steps. Kenyans are fighting to redeem the unfulfilled promise of their nation's independence. They know Kenya could thrive if public servants prioritized public welfare. It is imperative that we join their struggle. If you believe in supporting MrBeast's mission, please consider donating to his initiative, Beast Philanthropy, which oversees all his charitable work, including his ongoing efforts across Africa. Every dollar goes directly towards improving lives. Check out beastphilanthropy.org to contribute and learn more about his incredible charitable impact worldwide. The poor of Kenya have suffered long enough while the rich prosper through corruption. Now is the time for action. Creating a just Kenya that cares for all citizens is possible if we stand united. The future remains unwritten. Let's make it bright.
Hope this was informative and entertaining for you. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share our videos. This will go far in helping us make better videos. Until next time, keep twitting and achieving your dreams. Don't let anything put you down. Bye for now.